Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Another Assist Aya. Today we're going to be looking at a PvP build order. It is first expansion, and some of you might be thinking, well, you can't fast expand in PvP, but with the Heart of the Swarm changes and the way the kind of metagame is going at the moment, you can pretty safely fast expand. So we're kind of looking at that. And this guy's just a game I played on the North American ladder. This is Abstract Grandmaster Protoss, and he'll be going for a very aggressive all-in, so I'll not only be able to show you the build order, but also how to kind of combat a very strong all-in. The build of this game is just the kind of standing gateway. You'll see I scout around with proxies, and then I go double gas on 15. This allows me to get a good gas count, and since I'm going for sentries instead of stalkers out of my gateway, the mineral count isn't as important to me as the gas count is, so I'll be sacrificing a bit of mineral income to get more gas income early. It also delays the cybernetic score a bit, but only by 4 or 5 seconds, so that's not too important. If you want to find more info on this build, I suggest looking at the Liquid Hero replay pack. You can find that on teamliquid.net. He uploaded 3 replays from each matchup, and the PvP games, I'm pretty sure every single one of them was Sentry expand, which is the same build I'm showing you now. If not, yeah, 2 of them, if not all 3, were this build. So it is very common in PvP. I won't be looking at how to kind of play against someone who's doing the same build today. You can just go into a standard macro game, but there are kind of a few metagame things that people have been doing. But for today we're just going to be looking at the build and how it fares up against kind of all-ins. So you see I put 2 guys on each gas. This is because I don't feel that I need 6 probes worth of gas yet, but 3 probes on 1 geyser isn't quite enough. Another cool thing to note is that the 3rd guy on each gas geyser doesn't quite bring in as much money as the first 2. It's very close, but you get a bit of diminishing returns for that 3rd probe. So it is obviously worthwhile putting a 3rd probe on there, but just for now I'll only be having 2 on, and then adding the 3rd on in a bit. So for this build I go Zealot Sentry, and then you expand and get your mothership core. After that you add on your own robotics bay, and the standard kind of macro way to play is 3 gateways, but something I've been experimenting with is going for 5 gateways and attacking your opponent pretty quickly. It's a very strong way to play against almost anything, because you're going to have a very strong economy from that early expansion, and so it puts a lot of pressure on your opponents that if they're playing a bit greedy because they see you fast expanding, then you can punish them. However, I will also be scouting with my hallucination, so I will be able to see that he hasn't expanded, and then because of that I won't obviously be aggressive, and the extra gateways are going to be quite useful for defending. So the mothership does come out, and the main ability we're going to be using is Photon Overcharge. As you can read here, it changes the Nexus into a cannon, and it lasts for 60 seconds, and it does 20 damage, which is quite a lot. It doesn't actually say the range on it, that's a bit annoying, but I believe it's about 13. You'll see it comes out to around about this kind of range, which is huge. And that really is the pivotal point of this build. I'm going to pause it for a second here. My opponent has just gone for a very fast blink, so I want to talk a bit about other builds. The 3 Stalker Rush is quite popular. A lot of people have been doing kind of pumping Stalkers off of 2 gateways, then attacking you with their mothership core. This build deals with that very well. With these early sentries, you can force field the ramp if he tries to run up, and Photon Overcharge your Nexus so that he kind of can't attack you, and then once your robotics bay finishes and you get that immortal out, you can fight him quite easily. So this build is very strong against that style of play, and it is obviously strong against almost anything, but that is quite a popular build at the moment, and although we won't be seeing that this game, it does do very well against that. And as we're going to see, it does also do very well against Blink. So one of the, I guess, negative things about this build is I don't have much map presence at this point. I can't move out onto the map with just a Zealot and 3 sentries. So my opponent has been able to get this pylon out quite safely, and I guess this pylon's quite easy for him to get, but he does have a bit more map presence than I do, with also this probe being at the watchtower and whatnot. However, as soon as I hit that 100 energy, I can scout with this hallucinated phoenix, and this is kind of, I think, one of the bigger changes for Heart of the Swarm. You can scout very quickly with this, and although I don't see anything, my intuition told me that he was going to be all-inning. These 3 stalkers moving out onto the map at that point in time isn't really indicative of a macro game, or a fast expansion I should say. You can still play a macro game off of a 1-base opening obviously, so I was pretty skeptical because he hadn't scouted me either, so yeah, they really threw it away. And here I got a bit greedy. I do move down and I thought I could get some good damage on with some force fields trapping these units. However, in hindsight I shouldn't have done this. I do end up losing 2 sentries I think. I should have stayed at the top of my ramp and just used photon overcharge on the nexus, and with that overcharge I could have killed off, probably not kill off anything, but just force them to run away. So I think that we can learn from mistakes as well as just good play, so this is a very good example of kind of what not to do. At first I kind of thought, well, this is going to be great, I can force field, my Zealot's going to be doing damage, I'll have the overcharge, but the overcharge doesn't do damage quick enough, so in theory I thought this would work, but at the end of the day I end up losing 2 sentries, maybe, yeah, only 2. And I kill 1 stalker, but that's definitely not a good trade for me. However, as we can see, his blink's about to finish, but my immortal also is going to pop out. And this was a very fast blink. He went 1 gate into it. So this immortal will come out before the all-in happens. And this is kind of the toughest situation I think you can be in. My photon overcharge is going to run out in half a second. My mothership core doesn't have any energy, and I kind of lost a couple of sentries earlier, but despite all this, I am still going to be in a very good position. He kind of gets blinks onto me and kills off my immortal, and that's quite good for him, and then he starts kind of kiting away from these zealots and killing stalkers. I think this is about as bad as it could have gone for me, but this second immortal pops out, and I have been trading units okay. I still have these 2 zealots, and slightly miscontrol from his mothership core means that I get to pick that off. And I do lose that next immortal, but I do have quite a few units left over, and he is in quite a bit of trouble now. He does go for his own expansion, but at this point in the game's pretty much over. He's only got a couple of stalkers at the front here, and he's lost his mothership core, so this game's pretty much over. The main things to take away from this are that you can defend this build with those early immortals. You just get such good scouting that you can kind of figure out what's going on. Those 3 early stalkers on the map at that point in time kind of point towards a Blink-all-in being kind of the only viable option for him. However, in an ideal world you're probably going to get better scouting than that. Some paths you could take, maybe send it in this kind of direction or maybe round a bit more. And then if I get in here and see this Twilight Council, I can just be safe. I did have an observer. I sent this across the map after holding, but I kept it at my front in case of DTs. So I was safe against DTs. The immortals make me safe against the Blink-all-in, and I've kind of set up really well for him mid-game. Some of the harder things to deal with is probably Oracle Harass. You're probably going to have 3 sentries or so when the Oracle comes in, so you might have to use a Photon Overcharge to deal with that, or just pull probes until you can warp in a Stalker. But for the most part this is a very stable build. I use it almost every PvP. I do mix in other things, as PvP is quite a build order orientated matchup, so It is good to have different build orders, but this is a very safe build to use on the ladder and whatnot. If you have any questions, post them in the comment section on YouTube, and I'll be bringing you more guides in the future. If you have any requests or anything you'd like to see, then let me know, but if not, then I've got another few more PvP builds I'd like to do and some PvZ stuff. So until then, thanks for watching and good luck on the ladder.